Hi, I'm Chris, and I want to help you get pro recordings. So in this video, I'm going to show you a little trick that I do to get more presence in a song. And I especially like using this in the chorus of a song when I want the maximum amount of energy and fullness. Something I just want to mention really quickly though, is with this booth where we recorded the vocals, it has some very unique acoustical engineering that most isolation booths don't have. So I don't want to imply that if you just go and buy an isolation booth, you're going to get this kind of sound, because you probably won't. If you want to learn how that booth is designed and why it's designed the way it is, or even just how to make any bedroom sound the same as what that booth sounds like, you can check out my full course on room acoustics. It teaches all of that, plus so much more. So you can check out that course. The link is in the description. So let's give the SuperAir a listen. I'm going to toggle the effect on and off every 4 beats. I will start here in the first chorus.
What did I do to deserve this? And when did I lose your love? How did I even manifest this? Now I'm left with no one. All of my bones are clean, broken, and you won't tell me the truth. All of my wounds fresh cut open. Tell me, what did I do? What did I...
All right, were you able to hear that? It was kind of subtle, and I'm not entirely sure it would come through very well on YouTube. I'll exaggerate it a little bit just to make sure that it comes through.
How did I even manifest this? Now I'm left with no one. All of my bones are clean, broken, and you won't tell me the truth. All of my wounds fresh cut open. Tell me, what did I do? What did I...
So basically, it's just adding some really high frequencies in with the mix. I'll play the SuperAir track just by itself so you can hear what it sounds like without the mix. So drum cymbals and some white noise frequency sweeps can also provide these high frequencies for a similar effect. But what's unique about this method is it's creating harmonics that are musically related to the content. And it flows in real time, so if there's chord changes or note changes, those harmonic frequencies that are generated are also changing with that. So it'll always be musically related to whatever the current dominant notes are of the song. So let's take a look at how I did this. I've got a track here, and I've just got the vocals for the choruses loaded on this track. If we play this.
Left with no one.
Okay, so it's just a double of the lead vocal track. So I've got a template that I use. It's called SuperAir, somewhere here in the S's, SuperAir. Boom. Load up all these plugins. So I'm going to turn all these off. And the first plugin I have here, this is a de-esser.
All of my bones are clean, broken, and you won't tell me the truth.
Okay, because one of the biggest things I fight with this SuperAir technique is the sibilance, because when you boost the high frequencies that much, the sibilance gets boosted exponentially more, and it becomes percussive, and it makes the song sound a little bit too sibilant. So we have to take a little bit more drastic steps of de-essing. I do have a dedicated video for some really powerful de-essing strategies, and we are going to incorporate some of those strategies here, but I'm just not going to go in depth as to how I do it and why I do it the way I do. So the second plugin I have here is another de-esser. I just use a different de-esser because it's going to catch things that the first one didn't. I also have this second de-esser tuned to a much higher frequency. I'm at 12,000 hertz. Anyways, two de-esser plugins just to de-ess as much as possible. And then I've got the TDR Nova. This is basically acting as another de-esser, and this goes into the de-essing strategy that I told you about, where I have a video on it. But basically I've got 3 de-essers here just to really maximize reducing the sibilance before it goes into the saturator plugin. This saturator plugin is the Brainworks Saturator V2, and I've just got it maxed out. So here's how it sounds now with the saturator on it.
Do it to deserve this? When did I lose your love? How did I even manifest this?
Okay, it even sounds a little bit distorted, but there's a lot going on there in the high frequencies. So the next plugin I got just is an EQ, and it's a massive low cut filter. It gets rid of all of the lower frequencies, and only these really high frequencies are coming through. So now let's hear how that sounds. There we go. We're getting there. The next plugin in the chain, another de-esser, because now that we've added harmonics and boosted the high frequencies, there's more sibilance coming through, so I just put another de-esser on there. Compressor, nothing to brag to your girlfriend about with this plugin. We all know how to use a compressor. And then the next plugin is just a reverb. I've got Logic's Chroma Verb, but any reverb will do, but you're going to want to boost the high frequencies in the reverb. So here's how it sounds with the reverb. I've got it set to 100% wet. And then the last plugin, this one's not entirely necessary, but I like to have it. It's just delay. This is accomplishing two things. One is the Hass effect, because I've got the left delayed 81.1 milliseconds, the right is delayed 92. So that's about an 11 millisecond difference between the two. So that's going to cause the Hass effect, which basically gives it some stereo spread. But then they're also both delayed by, well, 81 and then 92 milliseconds. So this just gives it some time separation so that it doesn't cause comb filtering, and it layers in a lot nicer. It's very similar to adding pre-delay on reverb. So this reverb plugin, it's got pre-delay, but I would rather just dial in the pre-delay in milliseconds with this plugin. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but I'm a bit of a control freak, so I want to have a dedicated plugin to control my pre-delay. Now, my favorite way to use this trick is in choruses, but like you can even use it in verses. Here I've got it on a verse, and as long as it's really subtle, it still adds a little bit. Let's take a listen to that verse.
Was it the promises that I couldn't keep? Or maybe the hospital when I couldn't speak?
Okay, so I've got the effect turned a lot louder than what I would actually have it in the mix, just to kind of exaggerate what it's doing. And that was actually too loud. I didn't like that level, because like you can easily overdo this with too much. It'll start to sound a little bit too piercing. So you got to be careful with this effect and only put it in a wee little bit. But like that wee little bit does help a little bit. It gives it like some fullness, some presence, a certain energy. I like what it does as long as it's not overdone. All right, let's give it a listen in the last chorus where there's a lot more energy in the song. And I've got this effect, the volume of it raised up a little bit more. So I'll toggle it on and off so that you can hear the difference. If you don't want to use a vocal, I've got something similar going on here in this last chorus where basically I just created those really high frequencies using a MIDI instrument. And then I EQ'd the bejeebers out of it. So here's the EQ I've got on it. So only the high frequencies are coming through. And we're going to listen to that instrument. So as you can hear, only high frequencies coming through. And that's a similar effect. And it will also be changing notes and keeping the harmonics relevant to whatever the chord is that's being played. So let's give that a listen in context with the music. Similar. I do prefer having those high frequencies being generated from the vocals. I don't know, it's just a little bit more white noisy, a little bit more washy, less piercing, and it seems to have a nicer energy, but this can also work. But using an instrument also does work for a very similar effect.